Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to this video. All right, so doing this video on this crank no start issue. If you guys have this problem, definitely watch this video. I'll give you the answer for the issue. Just want to give you a little background. I've had no issue on this vehicle in a while. Changed the battery out 5-6 months ago. A couple days ago, I took it to a Dairy Queen and got some ice cream, parked it, and came back to the car and tried to start it. It would crank, but it wouldn't start. At that point, I tried it a couple of times. It would crank and it wouldn't start. And I actually did try shifting the shifter a couple of spots. Reverse, neutral, went back to park and try to start it, and it still wouldn't start. Had a strong crank though, so right off the bat I was gonna rule out the battery. Didn't think it was the battery that was the problem, because if it was a battery issue, even with a weak battery, it would have like a weak crank to it or some flickering, firing off noise. And this wasn't the issue that I was having. It was a strong crank. You could hear the crank. The starter was going, was running real good. The starter itself was cranking the engine real good, but it just wouldn't run. Had power on the dash, everything worked, blow motor, all that stuff. So at this point, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to check out the battery, ruled out the battery. I had the battery change up 6 months ago. I know what a battery that's going out sounds like. I know what a bad battery sounds like, because it wouldn't make any noise at all. I would see lights on the dash and anything like that. So ruled out the battery as the problem. So I was thinking to myself, you know what? I haven't changed the fob key in a while. And I've had instances where the fob key battery was really low and caused this kind of issue. If you guys have a newer vehicle, probably it'll just, have a no crank, no start issue, and probably just tell you that there's a no key detective issue. But in this case, in some cases with older vehicles, you have a crank, no start issue with that. And I was thinking to myself, you know what, maybe I should just change the key battery anyway. But I was having no issues as far as the alarms and any of that stuff is concerned. Getting into the car, the remote works just fine. And this issue just came up recently. It wasn't like I had an issue previously where I had sporadically had this issue. So I was going to a CVS across the street. But then I changed my mind. I said to myself, probably not the key that's the problem. And if you guys do have a push start, you guys could actually try this out by actually pushing the push start with the fob key. If it starts up, it's probably the fob key or the fob key battery is the problem. But that's not my issue with this. So I kind of ruled out walking across the street to get a battery for the fob key. And I was thinking to myself, you know what? It could be the fuel pump. It could be the fuel pump. Or something to do with the fuel line, or something to do with a fuse. And I was thinking to myself, okay. I was trying to figure out how I could actually listen to the fuel pump going off as I put the vehicle on the ignition on the on position. So I was thinking to myself, I was the only person in the car. So what I did was I rolled up all the windows, turned it to the on position, and try to hear the motor priming. If the motor on the fuel pump was priming. And to be honest with you, I couldn't make it out. whether the fuel pump was priming or not. Sometimes you'd have to like really be close to the fuel pump. Sometimes, you'd have to have somebody out close to where the, listening to where the gas cap is. Take off the gas cap and just listen to see hear whether the fuel pump is priming or not. But I couldn't do it. So basically, I went out and put the hood up and try to figure out whether there was any kind of issue that I could tell. Now, I did not have a check engine light. I will tell you that I did not have a check engine light because when I was out looking under the hood just to see whether there was any kind of issues that I could spot, I was thinking maybe it's the mass airflow sensor. Could be a couple of things that's causing it: crankshaft, camshaft, all those things. But seeing as how I haven't had a check engine light on this vehicle for a long period of time, I was like, you know what? I don't think it's any of those things, because any of those things that has issues, there's gonna be a check engine light for any of those things. But in any case, I got back into my vehicle and hooked it up to the OBD2 sensor. There could have been a chance that the check engine light came on immediately when this issue started happening, and it'll only show if the vehicle is running as far as the check engine light is concerned. So I hooked it up, did a little scan on the vehicle, and it read out fine. There was no codes, nothing, no trouble codes, no issues. All the monitors were complete. And at that point, I was thinking to myself, okay, what else could be the issue? And if you guys are watching this right now, just want to let you know that this is a pretty thorough diagnosis of this. All right. Even if you guys don't have the exact problem that's causing this, I'm going to get to it. I'm going to keep this, keep this long story short. I'm going to get to that. But even if you guys don't have this issue, this is a good analysis of what what you guys could do is trying to figure out some quick fix problems with a crank no start. So anyway, I took the at that point there was no check engine light, there was no codes, nothing like that. So I was relieved. So I was thinking to myself, what else could cause this issue? And then I realized I actually had a 12 volt, a couple of things hooked up to the 12 volt, an iPad and my phone to charge. And sometimes if you have too much of a voltage going through the 12 volt, it could cause that problem. So I took the 12 volt, took it off the 12 volt, and then I tried to start it again and still had that issue. So I was thinking to myself, all right, so it could be a couple things at this point. And looked at the fuse box. Now granted, I didn't have a fuse tester on me, but I was still looking at the fuses just to see if any of them were blown. But I gotta tell you, before I did that, I would tell you that I actually did look at the relay itself for the fuel pump relay. Now, in these situations of crank no start, a lot of times it's the fuel system issue. Sometimes it's an electrical issue. Sometimes it's a sensor issue. But seeing as how I ruled out a lot of those things, it could either be at this point the fuel pump, which does not have a sensor connected to it, or the fuel pump relay, which does not have a sensor, and you will not get a check engine light if those are the issues. So I actually swapped out the relay for the fuel pump and try to start it, and it did the same thing. So at that point, I knew it wasn't the relay. It could have been the fuel pump. It wasn't the relay. So I looked at the fuses, trying to figure out whether any of the fuses had any issues, and I was looking at the cover just to see which, any of the fuses were connected to the fuse system, because that's what you want to check if you're in this situation. All right, guys. So I was looking at all the fuses, and I was like, just checking it out. And by eyesight, I couldn't actually tell which fuse was the problem. But I immediately went to look at all the descriptions of fuses on the cover, and there's a fuel injection sensor fuse. Obviously, the fuel injection sensor fuel injection is connected to the fuel system, and I already checked out the fuel pump relay, and I was actually looking at the fuel system, because in these cases, if you don't get a check engine light for a situation like this, and it just cranks and no starts, you could have a variety of things that could cause this. You have no gas, you've had bad gas, if you have situations like that outside of just electrical fuse relay issues. So I just took a shot, and what I did was I actually took the fuse out. Now, if you guys looking at the fuse box, you guys will know that there are always, for the most part, if it's not tampered with, there's always spare fuses in the fuse box, and there's a fuse puller. I pulled that out and looked at it, and it looked like it was blown. It looked like it was blown, but I wasn't 100% sure. But anyway, I actually did swap out that fuse itself, and then went to try to start it. Just to, if you guys are in this situation and you guys don't know whether it's a fuse or whether the fuse is blown or a relay is blown, you guys could always swap out fuses and relays for components that are not essential to the ignition of the vehicle, and you can try to figure out whether the fuse has the problem or not. So basically, I started after that, and it started up just fine. So at that point, I knew that it was the fuel injection fuse that was the issue. So if you guys have this problem, it could be a variety of things that I mentioned that are easy fixes, and those are easy fixes. All right, you're not going to get your hands too dirty as far as having to use tools and stuff like that. This is just one of those instances where it just was this case, but it could have been any of the other things that I mentioned that could have caused this issue, and that solved my problem. Glad you guys watched this video. If you guys have any comments, leave a comment in the comment section. Please subscribe. Please give me a thanks. Please give me a thumbs up. You guys, hope this has helped you guys out in whatever situation you guys are in, as far as a crank no start situation, that you guys solved it, and it's helped you guys out. All right, guys, take care.